Welcome to this chapter of Week in Review. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been involved in a situation where you were accused of something you didn't do, or you were even convicted of something you didn't do? Do you realize how this is accelerating in America today? You know, this man right now faces all kinds of criminal charges, court cases, accusations about rape, and all kinds of things. And do you understand what's behind this? You know, 30 minutes from where I'm sitting right now, there were 6 people who were involved in pro-life activity, and they were just convicted of what they did, and now they're facing up to 11 years in jail and prison. This is a dangerous occurrence. It's happening on our watch. Listen. Have you ever been convicted of something you didn't do? Well, Mr. Trump, we know, faces all kinds of charges, but you understand what's behind it? See, a lot of people in the past number of years have said, well, you know, Trump, this guy, you know, he's involved in all these conspiracies. And, you know, when he would bring something up, it was always a conspiracy. You know, the Ukraine situation and what went on with this insurrection on the Capitol and Ukraine and all of these things, they're all raised because there's a reason behind it. Do you realize that there is a conspiracy? And what is a conspiracy? Look up the definition. It means a secret plan that is intended to harm and bring destruction. Now, a lot of these conspiracies that have been brought up about Mr. Trump, they haven't been valid. But the media covers it, blows it up. Oh, we're going to see this man. He's got to be, you know, impeached. But what about some things that are being brought against him now that then they turn around and say, oh, those are conspiracies. I mean, you know, we really have to recognize some of this stuff is really valid. Well, is it? Are they? Think some of the things and put yourself in the shoes, if you would, of Mr. Trump. You know, how about a recent case where $83 million judgment. Yes, we've got to bring this against Mr. Trump. Because of what? They said, well, this lady, she accused him, a decade and a half or so ago of rape. Well, then what they had to do was the Democrats put the money up, brought this woman forward, and she had no recollection of the actual date. She said, well, I guess she shared it with a couple friends what happened, but there was no police report. There was no evidence, no rape kit, nothing. They changed the law in New York and said, well, we'll make it a defamation case. And all of a sudden, the hoopla, Mr. Trump is guilty and has to pay $83 million. Do you realize that he was never, ever convicted or of any type of felony charges? And then the jury, which is against him, we know in many of these places, well, what happens is, you know, we say, well, the jury decided. That's what Nikki Haley said, you know, let's believe the jury. Well, do we believe the jury in what happened to O.J. Simpson? Are juries always right? Is that right when we're in places where, like, hey, charges are being brought against Mr. Trump in D.C.? I lived in D.C. You had about 4% of the people there that voted for Donald Trump. It's a strongly progressive, leftist, Democrat city. And yet we try to bring charges against him in a case there. How about in Georgia? Oh, we have the district attorney. She was bringing charges, Fannie Willis against Donald Trump. Oh, what he's doing is election fraud, and this man is going to go to jail for this. And the whole goal of it is to remove Donald Trump from running for president. I want you to look. Here's a map of the United States right now, and you see all these green? These are all the states where they're trying to bring charges against Mr. Trump so that he can't run. They're saying primarily he was involved in an insurrection, and the Constitution says if ever there's an insurrection charge brought against a person, they can't run for president. But is this valid? This is a scary time, folks. You know, in Miami, Mar-a-Lago, that's his home. Oh, charges against him there for inflating business dealings that were fraudulent, and we got to stop this. And his home is only worth maybe $30 million or so. And all of a sudden, you have objective reports from the real estate that say, no, wait a minute, this is over $500,000 worth. And then we see in Georgia with Fannie Willis, now she's going to be subpoenaed because, she got caught. She's involved, allegedly now, in spending taxpayer money to get involved with a man that now is being divorced because he didn't have the credentials. He was never sworn in. But boy, Fanny and this boyfriend got involved in an adulterous relationship, and they went to the Caribbean, and they went out to Napa Valley. And now she's being brought in, and a lot of people are saying, well, I think prayers are being answered because in these court cases in Georgia, in Miami, in New York, in D.C., we have a kangaroo court in many cases. It's like a banana republic. This is dangerous. And we need to know what's behind it. Individuals, leftists, they want to tear down this country, and they want no God, they want no truth, they want no justice, and they want no Trump. Now, I want you to watch this bullseye chapter here because it's exposing what's going on, and we need to be engaged in fervent prayer and at the same time also recognize this is a dangerous time. We've got to elect righteous people and remove those that are involved in corruption. In the beginning, God. These 4 words launched the first of 66 books in the best-selling book of all time, the Holy Bible. What better way to begin than right here, especially since we live in a country where 96% of Americans say they believe in God. You know, when astronaut Buzz Aldrin stood on the surface of the moon decades ago, he gasped at the galaxy and let loose these familiar words into the expanse of the universe. Quote, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands." Psalm 19. He was acknowledging God's existence and his role as creator, just as our founding fathers did in the beginning of the Declaration of Independence. But today in America, there exists a small yet vocal, well-financed minority of individuals whose primary goal is to remove any reference to God from the public square and reshape our country into what would be a religion-free zone. Now, articulate advocates of this new atheism are Oxford evolutionary scholar Richard Dawkins, author of the New York Times bestseller, The God Delusion, and freelance thinker, the late Christopher Hitchens. Now, Dawkins states that religious instruction is a form of child abuse, and when asked about the origin of life, he suggests that maybe aliens from outer space arrived to get the ball rolling. No absolute truth? Well, let me bring a pizza delivered to your door and withhold the scrumptious delight saying that you didn't pay when you did. You'd say, hey, that's a lie. It'll always be a lie if you try that. Or how about witness someone strap on a bomb and kill innocent children? You'd say, that's murder. It's always murder. How about observing someone shove your maybe frail, disabled grandparent out of the grocery store line to steal his or her place in line? You say that's stealing, that's taking the spot, it's always wrong. Well, I thought there were no absolutes. Might they be absolutely wrong? Now, people want America like Amsterdam. There are individuals, and I say if we snooze, we're going to lose. A while back, I was going to the airport in a van with a 20-something young man. He was seated right with me, and he told me the account of his pregnant wife's recent death. While driving home, I dozed, he said, for a few seconds. And rebounding, I found myself drifting into the next lane, and then it was too late. The truck hit her side. I lost the love of my life and our first child. There's people that speak tolerance. Well, now tolerance means different. Historically, it meant respect for people's beliefs. But today, it means respect for others' behavior. In other words, there's no absolute standard of morality. Every man does what's right in his own eyes. Where does this lead? Well, I've been to Amsterdam, and these are the realities when you're there. Abortion on demand, euthanasia or mercy killing. There's forms of infanticide, same-sex marriage, recreational drugs in coffee shops. How about on the streets? Sex shows, open explicit pornography, prostitution, 27,000 ladies sitting in windows, explicit homosexual, lesbian, bisexual, transvestite activity. There's public nudity, sex change, a reassignment. It's subsidized. And then the age of consent for sexual activity, 12 years of age. Now, in this chapter, we're going to examine things like the American Civil Liberties Union and how about separation of church and state. Now, first, our Constitution was designed to give us freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. And that's why the early settlers fled religious persecution in England to come here in the first place. They wanted no state church as in England, but also no interference with religion as in England. Second, the phrase, the wall of separation between church and state, that's nowhere to be found in the Constitution. It comes from a letter by Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury Baptists in 1802. He was reassuring them of a wall preventing government from interfering with religion or denying people's right to freely exercise their religion. It's time to stand for the truth. And in this chapter, that's what we'll look at.
Hey friends, if you felt this video was helpful, make sure you like and subscribe so you get notified once new videos become available. Thanks.